Hello everyone and welcome to the fourth lesson in my series of Java tutorials. Today we are going to learn about for loops and while loops. So oftentimes when you're writing a program in Java, you will need to repeat a certain action several times. And it's not really efficient to have to copy and paste or type out the same block of code over and over and over again. So Java has a function that will allow you to repeat something over and over again. So I went ahead and created a new project and a new class to set up this example. If you don't remember how to do this, you can check the first video, but essentially you just have to go to new project, Java project, create a name, and then once you create the project, go to new class. And when you create the new class, the only setting you have to change, you have to make sure that public static void main is checked. So you get this main method typed in for you automatically. So what I have typed in here already is sort of a souped up version of the Hello World program we created in the first lesson. This is what is called a for loop, and it has three components to its structure. First, it defines a variable. So right here, we have int I equals 0. Int is a data type that stands for integer, and it's very similar to what we used in our circle program, similar to the double, except it does not hold decimal values. This is sometimes advantageous because in instances like this, we really don't need to have an exact number like 5.5 or 4.4. So an integer will use up less data because it has less to worry about. So the second component of this is a Boolean statement. I is less than 100. This is similar to what we entered into the if statement in the previous lesson. So every time the loop goes through, every time it executes the block of code, it checks if I is less than 100. If it is, it will execute the block of code here, and if it is not, it will exit the loop. The third component of the for loop is the action it does once it does a run through of the loop. So I++ increments I by 1. So after the first run through, it will spit out hello world in the console down here, and then it will add 1 to I. So after the first run through, it will be I. So once I reaches 100, the loop will exit. So now that we understand sort of what this is and what it's doing, we can go ahead and test it out. Go ahead and hit run. And as you can see, it spat out hello world quite a few times. So that is what a for loop is. Now, this is not always the best type of loop. Sometimes you don't know how many times you're going to need to do something, and in some instances, a while loop is better. So the difference between a while loop and a for loop is that it just has a Boolean expression, and it checks that the Boolean expression is true. You can do everything with a for loop with a while loop, but not all things you can do with for loop you can do with a while loop. So if we want to create the same function with the while loop, we'll type, first we'll have to define a condition. So we're going to do int I equals 0 outside of this. And we can do while I is less than 100 and add some curly braces here. So while I is less than 100, we do system.out.println hello world and end the line with a semicolon. So right here, we do not have any sort of function to increment I. So what we have right here is an infinite loop. So if we try and run this, we'll have our program will start spazzing out. As you can see here, it's just stuck in an infinite loop, and it'll not stop unless we explicitly tell it to. So we hit terminate here. So to avoid this common error, we have to do the increment function, so I++. So now that we have this in place, we can run it again, and it spat out hello world, presumably 100 times. I'll leave it to you to count those. So in summary, you'll want to use the for loop whenever you have a definite number of times that you'll need to run through the loop, and you'll want to use a while loop when you're not sure about that. So the while loop doesn't just require you to have a simple less than sign like I is less than 100. It can be any sort of Boolean statement, true, or anything like that. A situation that you might use a while loop instead of a for loop is if you're trying to let the user guess a password or something. You're not going to know how many attempts it will take them to get that. So that should wrap up lesson 4. I will see you in the next video.